Hey kids, welcome back to some more science, some more kitchen chemistry science. Kitchen chemistry science is cool. This next item we're going to talk about isn't necessarily made from science, but the way it works in recipes is pure science. So it's a little bit of a stretch to add this product to our kitchen chemistry, other than the fact that I'd like you to all know where your food comes from, so I'm going to include this in our unit. In this lesson, we're going to talk about flour. Where does it come from? How do we process it? What does it look like? How does it work? In this lesson, we'll learn where flour comes from, doing some experiments and watching videos, and you're going to bake some whole wheat banana pancakes. So, let's get started. Science is cool. Let's start off with a video on where flour comes from.
How is flour made? We've been making flour for at least 6,000 years. Stone Age people took grain and crushed it between two stones. Although modern flour mills are very big and make thousands of tons of flour every day, the process really isn't that different. To make flour, you need grain. Most flour that we use for bread is made from wheat grain. We grow over 16 million tons of wheat in the UK. It's usually planted in the autumn, and it grows throughout winter, spring and summer, ready for harvest in August. The farmer harvests the wheat using a machine called a combine harvester. Then the grain is taken to the mill, ready to be ground into flour. Each grain of wheat is a seed, which would grow into a new wheat plant if it were put into the soil. The grain has three parts: the bran, which is the outside skin, the endosperm, which is the food store of the grain, and the wheat germ, which is the part of the grain that grows into a new plant if the grain germinates. A loaf of brown bread has all the parts of the grain in the flour. When the grain arrives at the mill, they take a sample to check the quality. If the grain passes the test, it's unloaded into the mill's storage area. The next job is to clean the grain that's just been delivered. They take out all of the straw, sticks and stones using these sieves. Then they blend different types of wheat together so they can make the right kind of flour. This is called gristing. The flour used in bread needs to have a lot of protein in it to make it soft but strong when it's baked. The milling happens in these machines, called plan sifters. The machines separate the different parts of the wheat using rollers and air bubbles, and this process creates the flour. The ground flour is then tested and checked for quality. Then it's transported to the bakery or to the shops, ready to bake your fresh loaf of bread.
I have here some different examples of different kinds of flours. These three flours, my bread flour, my all-purpose white flour, and my whole wheat flour, all come from wheat. It's a grain that we grow in the United States and other parts of the world. This flour comes from almonds. Turns out these flours have something called gluten in them, which for most of us isn't a problem. That gluten acts like a net when you're making breads and cookies. We talked about our leavening agents that produce bubbles and our yeast. The flour makes like a net to trap the bubbles in so that our baked goods rise. However, some people can't eat gluten, it makes them sick. So there are other kinds of flours. This is one example of an almond flour made from, you guessed it, almonds, and it does not have gluten. But products made with almond flour don't work and bake the same way, and that's where the chemistry part comes in. It's very difficult to make baked goods that look and taste the same as wheat flours when you're using something that doesn't have any gluten. But don't worry, chemists are working on ways to make better products using non-glutinous flour. Go chemistry! Let's now talk about different kinds of wheat, different things we make wheat from, and just do a little comparison and contrast. On this orange plate here, I have some items. I've got some wheat berries, which is what our wheat is made from. I've got rice. I've got almond flour, whole wheat flour, white flour, and some oatmeal. So let's take a look here. You can see them all. Here is my wheat berry. It looks a lot like the rice, doesn't it? You can make flour from rice. It'd be a rice flour, but it doesn't have the gluten that the wheat flour does. But they do look a lot alike. Over here, you've got some oat, which is another kind of plant, another kind of seed, another kind of grain. But oats can also make a flour, but again, it doesn't have the gluten, which is good if you're gluten-free, but it does affect your baking goods. On this side of the plate, I have 3 different flours. I have white flour, wheat flour, and almond flour. And they look very similar. These two are pretty much the same, except as we learned from our video, this wheat flour actually has more of the wheat berry in it. It's healthier for you. This is the almond flour. It's powdery like flour, but it doesn't kind of stick together like flour. When I touch this stuff, it kind of sticks to me. It's powdery. This is more the consistency of cornmeal. I want to do a little demonstration to show you how we can turn wheat berries, the wheat grain, into whole wheat flour using a coffee mill. A coffee mill is just a machine that's got a grinder inside and a crank handle, and then it has a little drawer here where it's gonna plop into. Use it to make coffee, but it can also grind my wheat, because we got to take this hard, ugh, can't bite that, yuck. I got to take this hard seed and turn it into something soft and fluffy, my flour. I'm going to pour it into the top like that. Can you hear it? All right, let's see what we got. We have our flour. All right, there you have it. Now, I haven't separated out any part of this wheat berry, so this would be a whole wheat flour. This stuff right now is still pretty coarse. It's like, kind of has the consistency of very chunky sand. If I wanted to really use this, I would have to put it back through this machine again, probably grind it again. Another easier way I can do it is using a machine. This was hand cranked. This is my magic bullet. I'm gonna put some more wheat berries in there. 4 of those scoops. It's got a blade on there. Safety first. Gonna be noisy. Let's take a look at what we got here. Get this out of the way. Okay, I got a little plate here. Here is my machine ground wheat. Here is my hand ground wheat that only went through the grinder one time. And here is my milled wheat. So you can see there's a bit of a difference there, but I gotta say, mine's a little grainier, but not bad. This hand ground stuff definitely needs more work, but I think we could get it there. We made flour from wheat berries. This machine here is a hand flour mill, and it's actually meant for grinding up wheat berries and other kind of grains to make flours. You can buy it for about $30 online. Now that you have some whole wheat flour, let's make some whole wheat banana pancakes. Cooking project time! Here's your recipe for whole wheat banana pancakes. Take a screenshot, print it out. We're going to start our recipe by mashing our bananas. Now, I like to do this in a super fun way. I am going to take my bananas and stick them into a clean Ziploc bag. And then I'm going to mush them. These bananas smell really good. All right, make sure the bag's closed or this is going to make a really big mess. Get this out of the way. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, get that energy out by squooshing. Might have to get some air out of the bag, otherwise it'll pop. So I forgot to mention that part. Get all the air out. And then you could use a rolling pin. Fists work really well. Oh, wow. By the way, if your bananas are all super ripe and everything, those are great bananas. You don't want to eat those kind of bananas because they're a little bit bruised and gross looking. Those kind of bananas are great for cooking. But I didn't have any super ripe bananas. I just had regular bananas. So I'm gonna make that work. But anytime you have super ripe bananas, you should throw those in the freezer. And you can make pancakes with them. All right. That looks great. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna smosh it all down to the bottom there. Make sure it's all squished up. Yep, that looks good. Now I'm gonna take my bowl and I need 3/4 cup of either water or plant-based milk if you wanna make them vegan, you know, like a coconut milk or rice milk. The 3/4 is the 3 and the 4 right there, 3/4. So I'm gonna use milk because I don't have plant-based milk, and I am fine with that today. I've made them with plant-based milk. They're good either way. 3/4, there we go. On the 3 and the 4. Now I'm gonna get my bananas out of here just by kind of squeezing it. If you really wanna have fun, you could cut a little snip on the end there and squish it out that way. I'm just gonna go out the top. That thing's easy. Oh, looks like baby food. Whoa. Smells good though. Smells like bananas. Yum, yum. Who wants to eat that? All right. There we go. There's my bananas. And then I'm going to add my milk. Next, I'm just going to stir this up. I suppose a whisk might have been better, but happen to have a spoon. Just kind of mix it up just a little bit. Then I'm going to set it aside and work on my dry ingredients. Okay, I have here 1 cup of our ground wheat berries, flour. If you didn't get that much because you got tired, you can just go ahead and use regular whole wheat flour from the store. That works too. You could probably use white flour, but since we're talking about wheat flour, I have the wheat flour. Next, I need a 1/2 cup of my oats, rolled oats, and these are not quick cooking oats. I don't know if those would work. These are just regular old-fashioned oats. I've got my 3/4 teaspoons of baking powder. And again, I don't have a 3/4. I've got a 1/4, which is a 1 and a 4. The 1 and the 4, 2 and a 4, 3 and a 4. That's what I need, 3 of them. And I'm gonna use the lid as the scraper. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Okay, toss in a little pinch of salt. And we're gonna whisk this together. You don't need much salt. Pancakes aren't usually very salty. There we have it. Okay, I've got my wet ingredients, my bananas and my beverage, and I've got my dry ingredients, and you guessed it, we're gonna put them together and stir. We don't wanna forget the chocolate chips, so that's why I put them right there, so we can see them. Give those a nice little stir. Now, if you don't have bananas, you can use applesauce. That's listed in the recipe. If you like peaches, you might even be able to use peaches. I don't know, you can experiment with this recipe. That's always fun. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. You can skip this step, or if you wanna be super healthy, you can add some blueberries or raisins. Something else you want to put in your pancakes. I do happen to like chocolate chips, but if you're not a chocolate person or you're trying to avoid all that sugar, add some fruit or leave it out. There we go. Okay, this looks good. We're ready to bake them. Okay, I have a hot plate here, and I have my pan, which I'm not going to touch because it's hot, and I'm going to just plop some pancake batter on there. Plop. We're gonna let those cook. Okay, these are coming along nicely. I'm gonna flip them over. I already flipped that one. I think I flipped it too early. You'll notice that these pancakes are pretty thick, thicker than a regular pancake. That's because that whole wheat flour is a heavier flour, makes for a thicker pancake. Okay, these look done. They're brown on both sides. I'm gonna take them off to our plate. Okay, our pancakes are done. I've got more cooking because I'm not gonna waste my batter. Oh, they smell really good. Now they're pretty thick. They're not like a super light, fluffy buttermilk pancake like we've made in the past. These are whole wheat and oatmeal, which means you got some good solid stuff. The good news is, well, there's always good news, these are much healthier for you than those buttermilk pancakes. That whole wheat flour is really good for you. Certainly smell good. Let's give them a taste. They're good. They're very dense. You know, they're heavy. I don't think I'd eat as many of these, and you certainly, well, I think, don't really need syrup on these. The chocolate chips are sweet enough. I suppose you could put syrup, but that might be pretty sweet. Nope. I'm gonna give these a thumbs up too. Delicious. Well, that's all I have on making flour from wheat berries. Hope you enjoyed your pancakes. Pancakes are yummy. Pancakes are cool. Flour is cool. And science is cool.